Welcome to the Workplace Wellbeing Essential Series. I'm Mari Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Advancing Wellness. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this expert interview where we explore topics that impact employee well-being. My guest today is Craig Becker. Craig is a professor in the Department of Health Education and Promotion at East Carolina University. He earned his BS in Accounting and Business from Purdue University, his Master's in Wellness Management from Ball State University, and his Ph.D. from Arizona State University. Got a lot of states covered there, Craig. He is passionate about salutogenesis, the origins of health. Rather than look at health as preventing bad health by avoiding those things, pollution and accidents and diseases that cause bad health, he looks at embracing those things that promote good health. His research areas include positive health, health measurement, and health professional competencies. His desire is to help everyone expand his or her thoughts about health from recovery or healing a bad situation to one that focuses on moving all toward health optimization. When not teaching or researching, Craig can be found spending time with his college-age daughters. Craig, welcome. Delighted to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about if we want a better tomorrow, can we create more good and not just do less bad? As we think about the traditional model of workplace health promotion or wellness, that has focused on reducing risks. We measure risk factors, we count them, we look at ways to reduce them. And in essence, you could think about this as being trying to fix something that's broken or that is a bad behavior. But when we think about this from the people perspective, you might think about this from obesity, tobacco use, unhealthy eating. But when we want to have some thoughts on this about a potentially different way to think about this, how do we go on the offensive with this? Not just approaching this from a defensive position of thinking about how we fix something that's broken.
Thank you, Mari. The approach is a little different. When you think about going on offense, I think it's what most of us want to do is when we do something, we want to cause something to happen. So you go on offense in health so that you can actually cause good things to happen. If you liken it to sports, you think about it, the only time you can ever score or do something good is when you're on offense. I mean, when you're on defense, you can never score. In football, you can score only if something happens like a fumble or an interception. But on baseball, you can never score on defense. Yeah. So on offense, we're moving forward to cause something good to happen. Now, you can take an example from my life in the fact that when I was 17, I was living a good life. I was an athlete. I was doing well in school. I had good friends, good support network. And then, unfortunately, I was driving home with friends from a football game, and we collided head-on with another car. The driver and the other two passengers of the car were killed. I suffered a brain contusion and lapsed into a coma for a week. Now, when I woke up from the coma, everything I'd ever known was gone. I had to relearn how to walk, talk, everything all over again. And the doctors even said to my parents, don't send him to college, you probably won't make it. My dad, who actually signed my acceptance letter to Purdue while I was in a coma, thought that, he'll be okay. He can do it. And I did. I went to college to prove the doctors wrong and to graduate on time. I graduated on time, did good, but then I got done and said, I don't want to be an accountant. But then I worked as an accountant and realized, I was sure I didn't want to be an accountant. My parents were supportive, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And all during this time, of course, I had been improving my life because I had been in a coma and I was paralyzed, I had brain damage. I was improving myself. So I was on my own little wellness path. And they said there was this wellness program at Ball State. And I went to Ball State and I talked to the director there. And I can't remember if I said it out loud or I said it to myself, but I thought, I'll bet you there's something I can add to this field with what I've been through personally. When we think about health, we want to go on offense so we can cause what it is we desire to happen. On defense, which you can think about as prevention, it's unlikely we're going to cause the good thing to happen. So if we're going on offense, we're thinking about what do we want to create, what do we want to move towards, and how can we cause that to happen?
Well, thank you for first off, for sharing your personal experience, and certainly for the courage that you've had to stay on offense for so long. It's just an amazing story. And, we're so glad that you are here to be able to share what you learned and how your life experience is shaping the work that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Well, yeah, people always say that, and I always wonder, what was my option? The option was either I stay a mess or I get better. And I think that's the only choice we ever have, is we either get better or we don't. So if we want to get better, we need to go on offense.
Well, and so that's a perfect way to think about how important it is to have purpose. And you had purpose in your life, right? We think about purpose in a well-being model. Your purpose was to prove that doctor wrong and to show everybody that you could do this. So that certainly must have carried you through.
And thankfully, it's transformed into how we're all connected and moving everybody forward, not just me forward, because I certainly didn't want to just prove the doctors wrong. I wanted to make contributions to improving the life of myself and others. So.
And you are doing that. So we're grateful for that. So I'm curious if you could just give us an example of what would this look like that you're describing, sort of this idealized approach in the context of an employee well-being program.
I think it can be generalized almost for anything, but when we're thinking about the idealized outcomes, we want to think, how are we going to make a contribution? How is it going to move forward? If the most important thing, I think, is that we have to have a starting point. And the starting point for doing this is going to be where we want to go, what we want to create, what we're going to move towards. Like Interface International is an example of a company that was an international carpet company, and Ray Anderson in the early 2000s said, I'm destroying, it was actually in the 1990s, I'm destroying my grandchildren's future. So instead he set out, we're going to make this a better company so that we can actually, instead of destroying the future, we're actually can restore the future. And they completely turned the company around, so they were a restorative company rather than a damaging company. And it completely changed the employee morale because they realized they were contributing towards making the world a better place. Similar things were found for Toyota when the people that were working on the Prius felt like they were actually making a contribution. So back to when you talked about purpose, it's about having a purpose, and the purpose is how is it connected to the overall well-being of improving everyone. And employee well-being is directly related to what they're able to contribute and improve. So I think by making a connection to what they're doing to everyone else, is the best way for thinking about employee well-being. Did that answer your question?
It did. So it really sounds like what we're talking about here is having a connection for the workforce in the examples that you've described to something that's bigger than just what the individual's job is, but how that job connects to the purpose or the mission of the organization that's making a contribution to a better world as a whole.
And I hope that's what all of us are thinking about, especially as health promotion professionals. We're always thinking, how am I improving? How am I helping move everybody forward? I don't think any of us want to help one person by hurting another. I mean, we can never raise someone up by pushing someone else down. We have to try to lift everyone up.
Totally. Right. Totally agree with that. Is there some sort of a process? Can you describe what this optimized health promotion process might look like?
Sure. I have a bunch of models out there for the health promotion process and looking at the 7 dimensions, and it's the 7 things that we can do. Now, I have also a 7C model where we think about, we have to have, first realize this is going to be a challenge. I mean, our society now is set up in a way that it's almost sometimes it's discouraging to try to be healthy because you have to go against the tide. So you have to accept the challenge, realize you're going to need some courage to take on these status quo things and do something differently than other people are going to do. And it's absolutely going to take a commitment. We're going to say, you know what, I'm going to be committed to this. This is what I'm about. This is what I do. And it's what I'm going to have. And along the way, you're going to have to continually develop competence. I mean, continuing education is no longer a nice add-on. It's a requirement for life. Mm-hmm. Want to keep learning, keep understanding, and keep seeing the connections between everyone and everything. And as we do that, probably one of the best ways for us as health professionals is to figure who do we connect with so that we can use our competencies somewhere that's going to allow us to fulfill our mission, help other organizations, and so that together we're better than we are individually. And then we want to be able to, through those connections, be able to generate some contributions to ourselves, to our friends, to our family, and to society, so that we can then hopefully build upon those consequences that are going to continually improve and make for a better life. Now, with the process, let me give you an example. Because we're thinking about a process, we're trying to think, what do we do in the process that can lead to that offensive or best outcome? I was and I hope this was clear, I was at a presentation from my chancellor, and through my colleague were overarching, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing presentation. He is rattling off statistics, and he's never looking at his notes. I mean, he was just fantastic. He looked very confident, very smooth, well done. And then I noticed in the back that there was a teleprompter. So you can see all the words were right there. So that's how he was. But then my thought was, oh, so those are the tools he needs to be really, really successful to create the best possible presentation. Now, my colleague looked at it, and he also noticed it. But what he did, I was just enjoying the presentation, getting all the things out of it, and thinking, wow, what a great job. He looked at it, and he was reading the words and listening to him and seeing when he made a mistake. Oh. So he missed the whole presentation because he was focused on where are the problems. But I was thinking, wow, this is great. What else could we do to enhance and power this message forward? So the process is about how do we make it the most impactful and best process possible, rather than where are the hangups, where are the difficulties, where are the problems we have to overcome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really sounds like it's a mindset approach, really having a positive mindset, looking for the good, looking for the opportunities, and not just looking at, where are the faults or where are the mistakes.
Great, yeah, because I mean, like I said, you can look for the problems, which I guarantee you'll find, or you can look for, well, this works great. And you generally, I mean, we can never avoid every problem. Every problems are going to happen. I don't care what happens. We will have difficulties. But the stronger our physical, mental, and social well-being is, the more likely we are to overcome that, or maybe never have a problem because of it. It's like my car accident. I mean, I was able to overcome that. I certainly couldn't have planned for that, but I was able to overcome it from what happened. So if we are stronger physically, mentally, and socially, that's probably, and another thing is, don't they say the best defense is a good offense? Right. So we're on offense, and we've got a really strong offense. We can overcome almost anything. I think by creating a process that builds more upon the good things that we find and how to be even stronger, we're likely to be able to overcome those difficulties.
Well, I'm all about that positive approach and that mindset. I'm just curious, how do we move to a place where we're making gains and where we're making more gains, not just, removing problems or, tolerating or returning to the status quo?
And it goes back to the commitment. The idea is, again, you got to make sure they have this idealized outcome that's far beyond. It's like a long-term goal that we continually move towards. And what I always want people to look at is progress. And they call it plotting progress. So every time you make a step forward, document that has moved you in the right direction. And from what we understand from research, the most powerful the highest life satisfaction we ever have is not when we achieve our goals, because once we get that, we realize, all right, so what's next? Mm-hmm. We the most powerful, time we feel the best is when we make progress. I even said wellness is experiencing progress. Once we get progress, we realize, yeah, now I'm doing good. And then you want to think, how do I build upon that so I can continually improve and move forward? But we've got to document the good things we're doing and think, how do we build upon those to keep moving forward? So we can plot our progress and continually plot as we map our way as we're moving towards that idealized outcomes, and adjust and adapt as we move along.
So it's important to have ways for us to be able to measure that and be able to show that there are, that there is a result for all the efforts that are taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we have to make sure that what we're measuring is progress, not problems. Because as you said, my colleague looked for all the problems and he found them where I found progress. So which are we going to choose? Every one of us has the potential for disease, the potential for health. The question is, which are we going to manifest? When we manifest health, we by going on offense and moving forward. And then when we do have problems, which will happen, we're more likely to be able to overcome them. We have the connections, we have the ability and the resources to use to move forward and keep moving forward.
Well, it sounds like courage, commitment, connections are all essential parts of the model that you're describing to get to this idealized outcome. If our audience wants to learn a little bit more about you and the work that you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, there's a lot of ways to reach me. Probably the easiest is at East Carolina University. There's a webpage. It's beckerc@ecu.edu. And if you want to read about a bunch of my things, you can go to my webpage, which is positivehealthleadership.wordpress.com. And I've got about different research. I got videos. I also have a YouTube channel, which is Be Weller on the YouTube channel, but they're also connected on my webpage.
Fabulous.
So I look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to work with you. So let's see what we can do to move forward by going on offense, of course.
Thank you so much for being here, Craig. Appreciate your insights, your experience, and your wisdom, and your courage. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.